2004, Phillip Crosby sits for an interview. He's 69 years old, the last surviving son of Bing Crosby's first marriage. The interviewer asks, "Do you think your father's treatment caused your brother's deaths?" Phillip pauses. His eyes fill with tears. "Yes, absolutely. My brothers never recovered from our childhood. Lindsay fought depression his whole life. Dennis fought it too. Gary fought it with alcohol and cigarettes. And I fight it every single day. The difference is, I'm still here. But every morning I wake up and wonder, will today be the day I can't fight anymore?" Phillip Crosby died in 2004. Heart attack. He was 69. Not suicide, but still too young. Still destroyed. The fourth and final victim of Bing Crosby's legacy. This is their story. The story of four brothers who should have had everything. Born into Hollywood royalty. Sons of America's most beloved entertainer. Wealthy. Famous. Connected. But instead, they had nothing. No love. No peace. No escape. 3 died by their own hands. 1 died from the damage of trying to survive. And all 4 spent their lives carrying a burden no child should carry, being Bing Crosby's son. To understand how 4 brothers ended up dead, destroyed, and broken, you need to understand where it started. 1933. Gary Crosby is born. Bing Crosby's first son. Bing is 30 years old, already a major star. Radio, records, movies. He's on his way to becoming the biggest entertainer in America. Gary's birth should be a moment of joy, but for Bing, it's a responsibility, an obligation, not a blessing. Bing doesn't hold Gary much, doesn't coo over him, doesn't do the things new fathers do. He provides financially. That's his role. Everything else is Dixie's job. Bing's first wife, Dixie Lee, takes care of Gary alone. 1934. Twin boys are born. Dennis and Phillip. Now Dixie has 3 children under 2 years old. Bing is rarely home. He's working. Always working. Radio shows. Recording sessions. Movie shoots. When he is home, he's distant. The babies cry. Bing retreats to his study. Handle them, Dixie. 1938. Lindsay is born. 4 boys now. Ages 5, 4, 4 and newborn. Dixie is overwhelmed. Exhausted. Starting to drink to cope. And Bing, still absent. Still working, still emotionally unavailable. But as the boys grew older, Bing's absence would have been a blessing. Because when Bing was present, it was worse. Much worse. Gary remembered the first time his father hit him. He was 6 years old. He'd spilled milk at breakfast. An accident. A normal childhood accident. Bing stood up. Took off his belt. "Come here." Gary was terrified. He didn't understand. It was just milk. But Bing didn't care. He bent Gary over and hit him with the belt. 10 times. Gary cried, screamed, begged him to stop. Bing's face was emotionless. When it was over, Bing put his belt back on, sat down, finished his breakfast, like nothing had happened. Gary stood there, sobbing. His mother Dixie sat frozen. She wanted to comfort Gary, but she was too afraid of Bing. That was the beginning. From then on, the belt was a constant presence in the Crosby household. Any mistake, any misbehavior, any moment Bing decided the boys weren't disciplined enough, the belt came out. All 4 boys experienced it. Gary, Dennis, Phillip, Lindsay. None were spared, but it wasn't just physical punishment. That would have been terrible enough. It was the emotional abuse that truly destroyed them. Bing never said "I love you," never hugged them, never showed affection. When the boys did something good, got good grades, won at sports, Bing's response was always the same. "That's what you're supposed to do." No praise, no celebration, just expectation. When they failed, Bing's response was harsh. "You're an embarrassment. You have my name." The boys grew up feeling they could never be good enough, never meet the standard, never earn their father's love, because the truth was, Bing didn't love them. He saw them as obligations, extensions of his reputation, and when they didn't reflect well on him, he punished them. Gary later wrote in his book, Going My Own Way, "We weren't children to him. We were projects. Things to be managed and controlled, and when we didn't behave the way he wanted, we were beaten into compliance." Dixie Lee dies. The boys are now young men. Gary is 19. Dennis and Phillip are 18. Lindsay is 14. They've just lost their mother. The one person who showed them any love, even if she was too broken and alcoholic to protect them. At the funeral, the boys cry. Bing doesn't. He stands there stoic, emotionless. After the funeral, Bing gathers the boys. They think maybe, finally, he'll be there for them. Maybe this tragedy will bring them together. Bing says, "Your mother is gone. You're men now. I expect you to behave accordingly. No crying. No weakness. You have my name to uphold." That was it. No comfort. No grief shared. Just expectation. The boys were devastated. Not just by their mother's death, but by their father's coldness in the face of it. Gary started drinking heavily that year. He was 19. Dennis and Phillip followed soon after. Lindsay, at 14, withdrew into himself. All 4 boys were breaking, and Bing didn't notice, or didn't care. 1957. Bing remarries. Catherine Grant, a young actress, beautiful, 30 years younger than Bing. The boys meet her. She's kind to them, but they also see something that destroys them. Bing is different with Catherine. Warmer, kinder. He smiles at her, laughs with her, shows affection, things he never showed his sons. Then Catherine and Bing have children. Harry in 1958, Mary in 1959, Nathaniel in 1961, and the boys from Bing's first marriage watch in horror as their father becomes a different person. With his new children, Bing is patient, gentle, playful. He attends their school events, praises their achievements, shows them affection, everything he never gave Gary, Dennis, Phillip, and Lindsay. Gary later said, "It was like watching our father become the father we always wanted, but not for us, for them, his new family. We realized it wasn't that he couldn't be a good father, he just chose not to be, for us." That realization broke something fundamental in all 4 brothers. They realized their father's abuse wasn't about discipline or tough love. It was personal. He simply didn't love them. Dennis once told a friend, "I spent my whole childhood trying to earn my father's love. Then I realized he was capable of love. He just didn't love me." All 4 brothers struggled through their 20s and 30s. Gary became an actor, had some success, but his drinking got worse. Dennis tried acting too, some small roles, but he couldn't focus. Depression was setting in. Phillip bounced between jobs, never quite finding his place. Lindsay worked in various fields, but he was the most fragile, the most damaged. They all married, had children, tried to build lives, but the shadow of their childhood followed them everywhere. Relationships fell apart, careers stalled, addictions deepened, and through it all, Bing remained distant. He rarely called, rarely visited, rarely acknowledged them. When they reached out to him, he was dismissive. "I'm busy. I have commitments." The message was clear. His new family was his priority. His first 4 sons were his past, and Bing didn't dwell on the past. Bing Crosby dies. Heart attack on a golf course in Spain. He's 73 years old. The world mourns. America's beloved crooner is gone. His 4 sons attend the funeral. Gary, Dennis, Phillip, Lindsay, all in their 40s now. People expect them to be devastated, but their faces are blank. No tears, no emotion, just numbness. Because they're not mourning a father. They're burying the man who destroyed them. After the funeral, the 4 brothers sit together, drinking. "Do you think he ever loved us?" Lindsay asks. Nobody answers, because they all know he didn't. Gary breaks the silence. "We need to tell the truth. People need to know who he really was." Dennis shakes his head. "No one will believe us. He's Bing Crosby, America's saint. Then we'll make them believe," Gary says. 6 years later, Gary publishes Going My Own Way, the book that exposed Bing Crosby's abuse, the book that shocked Hollywood and America. In it, Gary detailed everything: the beatings, the emotional cruelty, the neglect, the contrast with Bing's second family. The book was raw, honest, devastating, and Hollywood hated it. Bing's friends attacked Gary. "He's lying. Bing was a wonderful father. He's just trying to make money off his father's name. He's bitter and jealous." But Gary's brothers confirmed it. Dennis gave interviews. "Everything Gary wrote is true. We all lived it." Phillip said, "I couldn't have written it, but I'm glad Gary did." Lindsay said, "Maybe now people will understand why we are the way we are." The book was controversial. Some people believed it. Others refused to. But for the 4 brothers, it was cathartic. The truth was finally out. But the truth didn't heal them. The damage was too deep. December 11th, 1989. Lindsay Crosby wakes up in his home in Woodland Hills, California. He's 51 years old, divorced, struggling financially, battling depression for decades. He's been in and out of therapy, on and off medication. Nothing helps, because the wound isn't chemical, it's existential. He was never loved by the person who was supposed to love him most. That morning, Lindsay writes a note. One sentence: I can't take it anymore. He picks up a gun and ends his life. His wife Susan finds him hours later. She calls 911. Then she calls Gary. Gary is devastated, but not surprised. He later said, Lindsay was the most sensitive of us, the most damaged. I knew he was struggling. I tried to help, but you can't fix what our father broke. At Lindsay's funeral, Dennis breaks down crying. I should have done more. I should have seen this coming. Phillip is silent, numb. Gary speaks at the funeral. His voice cracks. Lindsay spent his whole life trying to escape the pain of our childhood. He couldn't, and now he's free. I hope he's finally at peace. But the family wasn't at peace. May 4th, 1991, less than 2 years after Lindsay's death, Dennis Crosby is at home. He's 56 years old, recently divorced, financially struggling, and deeply depressed. Since Lindsay's suicide, Dennis has been spiraling. He drinks more, isolates himself, tells friends. Lindsay had the right idea. His ex-wife tries to get him help, but Dennis refuses. What's the point? The damage is done. That morning, Dennis writes a note, almost identical to Lindsay's. I can't take this anymore. He picks up a gun, same method as Lindsay, and ends his life. When police notify Gary and Phillip, they're not surprised. Gary later said, we saw it coming. Dennis had been dying inside since Lindsay's death. Maybe before. We tried to help. But how do you help someone who's been broken since childhood? At Dennis's funeral, Gary and Phillip stand together. 2 brothers left, out of 4. Phillip whispers to Gary, are we next? Gary doesn't know how to answer. Gary Crosby is diagnosed with lung cancer, terminal. He's 62 years old. He's smoked heavily his entire adult life, self-medicating the pain, the trauma. Now it's killing him. In his final months, Gary gives interviews, reflecting on his life, his brothers, his father. Do you regret writing the book? An interviewer asks. No. The truth needed to be told. Maybe if my father had been exposed earlier, maybe my brothers would still be alive. Maybe not, but at least people know now. Do you forgive your father? Gary pauses, coughs. The cancer is destroying his lungs. I understand him better now. He was probably abused himself, emotionally damaged. He didn't know how to love, but understanding doesn't erase what he did. So no, I don't forgive him. Gary Crosby dies on August 24, 1995. One remaining, Phillip Crosby, is now the last survivor. He's 61 years old in 1995. He attends Gary's funeral, stands alone at the graveside. No brothers left. He's the only one who survived. But survived is a relative term. Phillip struggles too. Depression, failed marriages, financial problems. He gives interviews occasionally. Always asked about his father, about his brothers. In a 2003 interview, Phillip is asked, how did you survive when your brothers didn't? Phillip thinks for a long time. I don't know. Maybe I'm just more stubborn, or maybe I'm just luckier. But I think about them every day, and I wonder, why me? Why am I the one still here? Do you think your father's abuse killed your brothers? Yes, not directly, but yes, we were all broken as children. Lindsay and Dennis couldn't live with that brokenness. Gary tried to fight it, but it consumed him anyway. I'm still fighting, every single day. What keeps you going? Phillip's eyes fill with tears. Spite, maybe, refusing to let my father's cruelty be the end of my story. I want to outlive the damage. I want to prove that he didn't completely destroy us. But he didn't outlive it. January 13th, 2004. Phillip Crosby has a heart attack. He's 69 years old. Not suicide like Lindsay and Dennis. Not cancer like Gary. But still premature. Still a death shaped by a lifetime of trauma, stress, and pain. Phillip Crosby dies. The 4th and final son of Bing Crosby's first marriage. All 4 dead before age 70. 2 by suicide. 1 by cancer caused by addiction. 1 by heart failure, likely exacerbated by decades of emotional trauma. The Crosby curse was complete. But it wasn't really a curse. Curses are supernatural. This was man-made. This was the result of one man's choices. Bing Crosby chose to beat his children, chose to withhold love, chose to be emotionally cruel, chose to be a different father to his second family, proving he was capable of love, but chose not to give it to his first 4 sons. And those choices killed them. Not immediately, but slowly, over decades, through depression, addiction, suicidal ideation, broken relationships, inability to find peace. The 4 brothers tried to survive. They really did. They sought therapy. They talked to each other. They tried to build lives despite their childhoods, but the damage was too deep, the wound too fundamental. You can't easily recover from spending your entire childhood being told, through word and action, that you're not good enough, that you're not loved, that you're a burden. Some people carry that wound and survive, others don't. Lindsay and Dennis couldn't. Gary tried, but the pain drove him to the addictions that killed him. Phillip lasted the longest, but still died too young, worn down by a lifetime of fighting demons planted by his father. The tragedy of the Crosby brothers is that it was all preventable. If Bing had been different, if Bing had chosen love over image, if Bing had gotten his own trauma addressed instead of passing it to his children, if Bing had simply been kind, but he wasn't, and 4 boys paid the price. Today, when people remember Bing Crosby, they remember White Christmas, the warm voice, the gentle smile, America's beloved crooner. They don't think about 4 dead sons, about Lindsay and Dennis, who ended their own lives, about Gary, who smoked and drank himself to an early grave, about Phillip, who survived the longest but still couldn't escape the damage. But maybe they should remember. Because the story of the Crosby brothers is a reminder. Fame means nothing. Success means nothing. Public adoration means nothing. What matters is how you treat the people who depend on you, especially your children. Bing Crosby failed his first 4 sons completely, and they spent their lives, and ended their lives, trying to survive that failure. 3 suicides, 1 premature death, 4 destroyed lives. That's not a legacy of love, that's a legacy of destruction. And it's the truth about Bing Crosby that America never wanted to know.